time you cried and why?
I cry often now that the door to my emotions has been found and pried open. So I cry often. I cry at very simple things. I cry at simple emotional moments in a play. Resident of New York City, so we consume, as many Londoners, surely you consume the theater scene. I'll cry even in a moment in a musical. A musical is supposed to make you happy, but there might be a tender moment. I tear up if I see acts of sensitivity and kindness in a situation where you would not expect it. Okay? If you see a war-torn scene and a soldier picks up a doll and hands it to a child, there's a soldier who's brandishing a weapon for killing people, and they take a moment to do that. I'll tear up. I'm tearing up now just thinking of such a scene when that happens. So I tear up in unexpected acts of kindness because it's hope for the world. I'll tear up in a movie, usually in a theater because it's a big immersive experience, less so at home on a TV. Even the same movie, I might feel it a little more in a theater. Immersiveness matters because it's coming at you in more ways with greater strength. The sound is greater, the visual effects are greater. You're there as a participant in the film. So I probably will tear up once or twice a week for those reasons. And more, but those are the more common sort of reasons that arise.
Neil, thank you. Thank you for the inspiration over the last decade. Thank you for being the starry messenger in my life, which is the name of your new book, because you were, it's funny, I was thinking about it as we started this conversation, that was actually the moment that I became obsessed with the universe when I first watched you present Cosmos all those years ago. And this book is just a continuation of that, but it's a very current book in the sense that it speaks to some of the profound issues that are happening in the world. The inside cover, I think, presents a really great explanation of that. In a time when our political and cultural views feel more polarized than ever, Tyson provides a much-needed antidote to so much of what divides us, while making a passionate case for the twin chariots of enlightenment, a cosmic perspective, and the rationality of science. And that's exactly what this book is. It's a necessary antidote to the modern times we're living in.
Well, thank you for your support of that. I will say that Starry Messenger comes from Galileo, where he first perfects the telescope. After only just having heard that a telescope was invented in the Netherlands, he said, oh my gosh, that's good. Let me make my own version of it. He makes the best version that exists in the world, observes the night sky, notices that Venus goes through phases, which can only happen if Venus is going around the sun and not around Earth. He notices that the sun has spots, the moon has craters, the Jupiter has moons that orbit it. He didn't call them moons, they were called Jupiter's stars, because why would you think they were moons? Who knows? And he reports this with the first evidence that Earth is not the center of all motion. And he called it Sidereus Nuncius, starry messenger. The starry messenger wasn't him. The starry messenger was these messages themselves from the sky that are conflicting with prevailing belief systems about humans and about Earth. And he got into big trouble with the church. So as an astrophysicist, I found all the starry messages I could and applied them to our plight here on Earth. And that's the summary of what's going on in that book.
Death is a topic you mentioned in this book.
Yes, life and death.
Life and death. I'm more compelled by death.
As should we all be. Yeah.
I was a Christian growing up until the age of about 18. And then when I discovered atheism or agnosticism or whatever they want to call it, my perspective of death changed and I actually became really comfortable with death, the prospect of death. Where do you think, and where are you at in your perspective and thoughts on death?
For myself or just in general?
In general and yourself. Probably quite inseparable, I imagine. I don't know.
Death. Death comes up as a topic of conversation commonly when we talk about prolonging life. And now that we're into the genome and into human physiology, might there be a day where you can live forever? Okay. And there's something called the generation that will have escape velocity. Do you know what that is? Okay, I'll tell you what it is. So in the last 50 years, we've increased life expectancy 20 years. In the last 10 years, we've increased life expectancy by 5 years. So there will be a time where in the last year, we increased life expectancy by a year. At that moment, Homo sapiens have achieved escape velocity from death. Okay. That generation will never die unless you're hit by a bus. Okay? So that brings you the question, if you could live forever, would you? And my reply to that, and I don't want to answer for other people. So this is I want to be very clear that yes, I have my opinions, but I don't care if you share my opinions. You should have your own opinions, okay? My outlook on this is, well, let's take, for example, a bouquet of flowers. If you buy a bouquet of flowers and hand them to your loved one, and the flowers are made of plastic, how would your loved one reply to that? They probably think you don't love them. But you say, but darling, they'll last forever. Okay. No, that's not the variable here. That's not what matters. The fact that flowers die is the very reason why they have meaning as a gift. You're handed flowers. They're going to be dead in 7 days. That means, you better pay attention to them. You're going to smell them. You're going to take care of them. You're going to make sure you change the water and trim the stems. And you're going to put it in a central place so that not only you see them, but so does everybody else. You're going to celebrate those flowers while they are alive, because the day is going to come very quickly where they're going to die. And in their senescence, you're going to nurse them through. As the neck gets a little weak on the stem, you might try to prop them up until they're gone. It is the fact that they're going to die that gives them meaning as a gift. And dare I say that my knowledge that I'm going to die gives not only meaning to my being alive, it gives urgency to it. On my deathbed, I do not want to regret having the interest and ability to have solved a problem that I did not solve. To have an experience that I could have had, but then I did not. Knowing I'm going to die means I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to be all about action. Action. I will tell people I love them if I love them. I will accomplish things. I will learn this thing I wanted to learn. I will do all I can. Because you know what I want on my tombstone? It's a quote from a famous American educator of 2 centuries ago. His name is Horace Mann. He was also a university president, I think it was. He gave a commencement speech, one of his last. And he says to the graduates, I beseech you, love that word. Nobody uses that word anymore, beseech. Shakespeare loved it. I beseech you to treasure up in your hearts these my parting words. Be ashamed to die until you have scored some victory for humanity. I want that on my tombstone. I don't want any other monument but that on my tombstone. If everyone lived to that goal, how different the world would be, how enriched it would be with people's energy to improve the lot, not only of others as individuals, but of your neighborhood, your society, civilization itself. So that's what I think of when I think of death. By the way, in there I referenced dogs.
There's a dog over there for anyone.
There's a dog over there called Laika.
In the corner of this room.
Laika, where have I heard that name? Laika. 65 years ago, Laika orbits Earth.
The first dog to orbit Earth?
The first animal to orbit Earth. Then there's some guinea pigs, and then there were some chimps, and then Yuri Gagarin orbits the Earth, the first human. I think he was the 7th mammal to orbit the Earth. I had to check my notes on this, but it was if you add up mammals, humans were very late in the space achievement scale. So when you come home for having been away, if you own a dog, you will know exactly what I'm describing. By the way, this does not happen with cats. So with the dog is happy to see you. Not just happy, hey, glad you're home. It's they jump up and down and they want to lick your face and they want to jump into your lap if it's a lap dog. And if it's an Irish wolfhound, they'll want to knock you over and lick you in the face. They're excited by you. First, I would ask, did you do anything that day that deserved that praise? All right. So one famous quote is, be the person your dog thinks you are. Okay. That's a high bar, let me say. But and by the way, if you go out to just check the mail and come back, the dog is happy to see you. So now, wait a minute. Well, why? Let me just make up a reason, okay? I'm just pulling this out of my ass. You ready? Okay. Dogs don't live as long as we do. The famous dog year calculation, there's some nuances to it, but the blunt calculation is 1 dog year is 7 human years, okay? So when a dog is 10, they're like 70, all right? When a dog is 12, they're 84. They're getting ready to die, okay? Dogs die between age basically 12 and 16, okay? All right. Wait a minute. If it's a factor of 7 difference, it means we live an entire week of our lives for every single day a dog lives. So maybe the dog knows it won't live as long as we will. Maybe it knows it's got a truncated life expectancy relative to humans. Maybe it knows it's got to make every day count. We could languish away 5 days out of the week. You still have the other 2 days to watch football with your friends. The dog doesn't have that luxury. So I'm making this up. I'm going to declare that dogs know that every day of their lives matter. And therefore, they're going to make it count. And they're going to be happy every day. You ever wake up to a dog that's depressed? Never. No. You know,